Hello, welcome to the Paper Shop. This is Tara. Today I'm working on two hops. The first hop is a month-long hop that is held it's actually held March, June, and October. It's 30 days of sketches. This is series number 19 and day 15. This sketch was created by Mandy Beyer, and she has a wonderful 2-page layout. I am pulling my Curiosities in Willow Grove collection for this. The second hop that I am participating is a hop hosted by a good friend of mine, Christine. She is Scrap and Harden, and this hop is called Tease, the Scrapbook way, and it is an encouragement to use our branding strips. We've all got them. If we save them, we all have them. And it's fun to have these prompts to be able to get them all used up. I think that's awesome. I am going to be using, as I said, the Curiosities in Willow Grove and some photos of my son returning home from a deployment. So there's only 4 photos in my series of photos, so I'm going to have to adjust the sketch to fit my need. The prompt for Tease is to take 10 or more branding strips and create either a border or create a photo mat on your layout with your branding strips. And I'm going to cheat a little bit because I'm using a brand new collection that I have not cut into yet. I am actually going to cut off a bunch of branding strips to use for this layout of papers that I'm not going to use on this layout, which I think is kind of funny, but it is what it is. So I'm going to pause. I'm going to get started. I'll be right back. So as I started cutting the branding strips off the papers that I was going to use, I realized that I had some branding strips from the Flower Emporium in this color scheme set off to the side, so I won't have to cut off all of the branding strips from the pattern papers that I'm not ready to dig into yet, which makes me super happy. So I'm going to finish cutting off these 3 branding strips here, and well, 4, because I'm going to cut the branding strip off the green foundations or solids pack, whatever they're calling this these days. I have those, and now I'm grabbing these other branding strips, and look, see, they're all in the same color scheme, and it gives me 10. And I am going to cut them down into 6-inch strips, and then I am going to take this branding strip off this paper. I think that's the only one that I take off of a paper that I'm not going to use. So like I said, I'm going to cut them down into 6-inch strips each, and then I'm going to lay them out, and I'm going to make a woven mat. It is going to hold one of my photos, but it's going to be off-centered because I don't want to go through this work of weaving a mat with these branding strips and then you'll not be able to see very much of it. That kind of makes me crazy. And so, I'm just going to get all of these done, and I end up using almost all of the strips, the 6-inch pieces, but I don't use all of them. And that's okay. She just said we had to use 10. She didn't say we had to use all of 10. Oops, there's one more. I got to get that one too. That's actually one of my favorite ones from the Flower Emporium right there, the one with the little tabs on it. So I'm going to lay these out here. I'm going to try to put them in order and the way that I want them to end up, but I think I end up kind of moving them around a little bit as I go and working on these beautiful, beautiful branding strips. Some of these branding strips are just absolutely stunning, and what I'm going to do, like I said, I'm going to make a woven mat, and you'll get to see my magnetic mat in action here in a little bit. First things first, I am going to initially use washi tape to tape these down. I'm going to push them in a little bit closer together because I know they don't need to be that far apart. So there they are. Now I'm going to put my magnets on top of that washi tape, and that is going to help hold these together as I very carefully weave each one. And I'm going to put another magnet right there in the center. And now I'm just going to continue with this weaving, alternating how I start over and under with each strip. And the reason why I'm using all of these magnets is because I don't want this to move, because I'm not gluing as I go. And in fact, I don't glue until the end, and I only glue the very ends for the most part. I don't put glue in the center. So I'm just going to continue with this plain. Has anybody else done this technique before? Have you woven something for a layout? I don't know that I have, to be honest. I know that there's been prompts for it, but I don't remember if I've actually ever done it. But I'm doing it for this one. I'm going to tell you, this isn't my favorite technique, but I've seen some really cool things done by other creators lately, so why not? Let's give it a whirl and see if we can make it work for my layout. So I'm just about done, I think. Actually, I think I use almost all of these, so maybe I'm not quite done, and I'm just trying to do this as quickly as possible. I am aware that this video is a little bit longer than I usually put out. Part of it is because of this technique, and the other part of it is, of course, this is a 2-page sketch that I am working with here, so I definitely want to make sure that you see everything. So I'm going to move that washi tape towards the end so I can add another piece up at the top because it's just too big, and that kind of makes me happy. Here I'm gonna go ahead and weave another one on the bottom, and I think I end up with just those last 3 pieces from the full branding strip up there at the top. I think that's all I end up with. And of course I'm still using, no, I think I'm, well, am I? I guess I am gonna try to get that other one on there. Nope, I stopped because I want to leave the little ends open so that you can see that it's a woven mat. And so now I've used a little bit of adhesive on that top, and I'm just going to kind of go around and use the glue to go ahead and get these all glued down. I'm still using my magnets to hold this down on my desk. I cannot tell you how much I love this glass mat, and I do have an affiliate code if you would like to order from Glassboard Studios. If this is something that you've been looking into, it'll make a great Christmas present or birthday present for you. So on the back side, I am adding a little bit more of the glue to those pieces on the bottom, and that just kind of makes sure that everything is pretty much glued down and that it won't move as I'm playing. I think this looks pretty dang cool even on the back side with all of that 49 on Market verbiage on the back. So there is my woven mat, and that makes me pretty happy. So our sketch has a scalloped border on each end of the layout. I'm not going to use a scalloped border. I'm going to use this zigzag border. I don't know what else you would call it. It's, you know, pointy little thing. And if you're new here, I always use my border punches upside down. I like being able to see. If I try to use the guide on the top, I inevitably mess it up, and so I just turn it upside down and use it. That works the best for me. I call it one of my left-handed quirks. May not have anything to do with me being left-handed, but I'm going to call it that. So can you see that there's a little sliver left over from the border punch? It's underneath the punch right now. I am saving those because that is a perfect striped border that I could put on another layout at any time, and so I will save those for another layout. It's not going to get used today. I do like this striped paper. It is one of my favorites to play with here, And I love that it brings all of the colors in the collection into this one piece of paper. Now, of course, this is a military layout. This is not a military collection. I tend to do that with themes. I tend to kind of just do my own thing a lot of times with the themes, trying to make things a little bit more versatile for my scrapbook room. I find when I buy, themed things that I end up not liking them as much as I thought I would. So for the most part, unless we're talking about Christmas or fall stuff or those sorts of themes, I really don't buy a whole lot of themed things anymore. I have a drawer with birthday paper in it, and every time I pull it out and try to create a layout with it, I end up not liking it. So I may not be buying any more birthday paper either. That makes me crazy that I have to actually think of that. So I cut off an inch of this pattern paper. This paper is actually the product sheet from the front of the papers. I love that 49 Market does this. They put a piece of paper or cut aparts on the back of their product sheets, and that way nothing is getting wasted, and I love that about 49 Market. I am scuffing up the edges of this paper with my some assemblage required distress tool. If you have never seen this tool before, it is a little bit like the Tim Holtz distress tool, except for it's larger. It's great for your hands. Your hands can cramp if you use the Tim Holtz one for a length of time, and I don't have that problem with this one. And it's perfect for thicker papers like 49 Market. And so the other thing I will do off camera, I actually will scuff up the far left of this layout and the far right edge of this layout because I didn't do it before I laid the pattern paper down. So I'm going to scuff up the whole edge just to give it a little bit more texture there. I love the way this looks so far. I decided kind of off camera that I was going to use a cut file here, and to cut it out, I pulled out the 6x8 pattern papers from this collection, and I'm going to back them, those spots, with the 6x8 papers. I'll go through those in a little bit and kind of make some decisions here in a minute. Here is my first photo. Again, I only have 4 photos for this layout, and I believe there are 6 on the sketch. I'm not looking at it right this moment, but I don't have 6 for this layout. I only have the 4. So I'm going to have a fairly large title. That woven mat is really large, and there's going to be some embellishment clusters on that side. I am going to cut into this piece of the 6x8 to grab this take note 3x4 card because I need a place for journaling. And now I'm just kind of going through these papers, making decisions on whether or not which piece I'm going to use to back this cut file. I end up doing a couple of them on camera for you. And here's where I kind of go off the rails on this sketch. She has her photos kind of lined up, going from left to right across the two-page layout, and I'm not going to end up doing that. My title is going to be Love Our Marine, and I'm trying to figure out how to get it on there in a way that I actually like, and I'm struggling just a little bit. However, I'm going to go ahead and start backing this cut file. I'm going to do one of them on camera for you, and then the rest of them I will do off camera. I don't want to take up a whole lot of your time with this because this is fussy, but I know not everybody backs a cut file the same way. There are at least 3 ways that you can do it. This is the way that I typically do it. I flip the cut file over, flip the pattern paper that I'm going to back it with over, and then I trace along the inside and I cut just outside of my traced lines. And for me, this works the best. For other people, They like to just lay their letters right on top of the pattern paper, glue it down, and then cut around it that way. I find that I don't get close enough to the edges, or I get too close and I snip the edge, and so I don't particularly like to do that. You will see here in a minute that I actually do that with this M because I didn't cut it all out properly. I think that's right. It was this one that I did that with. Yes, right there at the top. I didn't cut that out. Thankfully, this paper is thick enough. I am able to cut it out without damaging my cut file or cutting my fingers. I've done both. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to scuff the edges of all 4 photos. I did trim the photos down a little bit so that I have smaller photos to work with and not a lot of white space. I like to scuff the edges of my photos, especially dark photos, because it gives that white core and kind of mimics a little bit of a white matte without the added bulk of another matte. This paper is of course super thick, and I am going to matte these photos on that green solid piece. I'm bringing that in right now. I'm going to cut a 4 1/4 by 12-inch piece twice is what I'm going to end up doing. And because these photos are not 4 by 6 any longer, I am going to put them on, and then I will use my trimmer guide to get the mat as even as possible. I'm going to scuff the edges of the photo mats as well, kind of just giving that little bit more texture. And here's my second photo, and I'm going to have a little tiny sliver of this 4 1/4 by 12-inch piece left. I am going to save that. Sometimes I like having smaller pieces like that for tucking, so I will stick it in with the collection. If I don't use it when the collection's all gone, then I may toss it, but we'll see. Most of the time with 49 and market paper, I tend to use all the things, and that's just how that is. So I did trim one of the mats 4 1/4 by 6 1/4 because the photo that has a photo, the photo of the sign that says welcome home and all the information about my son's unit is still 4 by 6. I took a picture of this. We did not have this sign. Somebody else hung it up there. I did not know any of the people that were here. So this took place in North Carolina, and so my husband and I lived in Tennessee still at this point. We are not Marines, we're Army, so we just didn't know anybody here except for Garrett and his wife, and that's it. So, you know, hooray for the end of deployments. Glad it's all over with. That's my little tiny vacuum cleaner that I got on Amazon. It's a great little tool thing to have handy, especially when you're scuffing up 49 and market papers. So off camera, I went ahead and I dug through some of the embellishments, laser cuts, die cuts, rub-ons, you name it. I dug through it, trying to pinpoint some things that I wanted. And I found these 2 border pieces in the laser die cuts, and I really, really wanted to put them on here. I just, those striped borders were a little plain for me. And I thought, you know, they would make a great landing point for these laser die cut borders. And, you know, I have a second set of this set of laser die cut, so, you know, I can use them another time. I am using that tool to scuff up those edges again because I just, like I said, I love the look of that. I thought I would try to scuff up the edges of this woven mat. It didn't work that well. It did a little, but not as well as I would like it to have worked. But, you know, I'm pretty happy with how all of that turned out. I am going to use this fun foam to pop it up a little bit from the background paper. I love the texture and depth that gives it, you know, plus with that woven look, it gives a lot of texture here. I did finish backing that cut file. You can see it. It's upside down up there at the top of my mat. Here is the first rub-on that I'm going to use. I adore 49 Market rub-ons. They are absolutely amazing and they work so well. And I know that this one here is going to kind of anchor part of my title a little bit, and kind of just gives your eyes a place to rest. Because I popped up that woven mat, I popped up the right hand side of my 4x6 photo, and now I'm going to kind of fuss around with my title and stuff. I pulled out 2 of these banner pieces. I considered using all 3, and maybe I could have done that, but I decided in the end just to use the 2, and I'll put the 3rd one away after I'm finished. And again, I'm calling this layout Love Our Marine, and I'm trying to figure out how to get that on there. That wood veneer love is from Some Assemblage Required shop. I ordered 3 of them. My kittens took off with 1 of the 3, so I put the one I'm not using away so that they don't take off with it again. They do that very often. They take off with things, and I lose things all the time. You'd think I would do better about putting things away, but do I know? Anyway, I love that piece of wood veneer, and this was a great layout to use it on. And I will use the cardstock alpha to finish that title when I'm ready to finish it. I'm gonna go ahead and get this second border on the right hand side. I love these borders so much, and I wish that they had a whole sheet of different borders because they're just amazing. So next up, I'm just gonna kind of fuss around with these photos a little bit more. I am gonna scuff up the edge of my journaling block. I love small journaling blocks like this. It makes it very easy for you to get your journaling down. And now I am going to finish embellishing. So I pulled a tab and a phrase that fits on the tab, and I'm going to add in this other rub on here, and I'm going to layer up a little bit of the ephemera. I really didn't want to use a whole lot of the fall stuff. I wanted to put in some of these fern leaves though. The one that I just laid down towards the right wasn't going the right direction, so I'm not going to end up using that one. I love this large fern piece, but I think I end up putting that back as well. I really considered using it, but I end up just putting it back in with the rest of my laser die cuts. Still trying to figure out how to get that title on there in a way that is eye-pleasing. You might wonder why I'm adding bugs. Well, when Garrett was a little guy, he loved bugs. He would pick them up, and play with them and bring them in the house. I cannot tell you how many bugs, lizards, frogs that I ended up washing in his blue jeans when he was little. And so I just put the bugs on there, just kind of a nod to him as a little boy. I'm not going to use any of the red ladybugs, however, I'm just going to use little green bugs and these stars that are from the laser die cuts and also from the Icon ephemera pack. Still fussing with this title, and I think it's going to end up like this, where it says love, and then I'm going to go ahead and grab the word our from these cardstock alphas. I really miss thickers, but these alphas are nice, and because they're 49 Market, that cardstock backing is relatively thick. I'm going to stick it right there on my powder tool to remove some of the adhesive, because I am going to use foam adhesive on the back of that when I glue everything down. But I'm going to lay them out now so that you get an idea of what that's going to look like. And it just says Love Our Marine. And my husband was deployed, I think, during this here. And for whatever reason, Seth wasn't in any of the photos that I took that night, which I think is odd. But, you know, it is what it is, and I'm pretty happy with this. All right, I got this layout completely done. I'm quite happy with the way that this turned out. I put some foam adhesive under things. Some of it you saw me do, some of it you didn't. I added the rub-ons and mixed it up with laser cuts and die cuts, and just really had a good time playing with this brand new collection from 49 Market and Vicky Boutin. It's amazing. If you don't have it, you kind of need it. I'm just saying, guys, I'm just saying, you kind of need it. It's beautiful, and it's full of just wonderful goodness, and I just really enjoyed digging in and playing with it for this first time. I want to thank you for coming to my channel today. I really appreciate those of you who take the time to like, comment, and or subscribe. Make sure that you check out that description box below for both playlists for 30 Days of Sketches with Christy's Beautiful Life, as well as the playlist for Strip Tease. Make sure that you check out the sketch creator's information. If I have more than her name, I will link that all down there below. And I hope that you guys have a wonderful day.